Hello, I'm Miss Ginger of Greenhouse Preschool, and today I'll be reading Verdi by Janell Cannon, the same author and artist as Stellaluna. On a small tropical island, the sun rose high above a steamy jungle. A mother python was sending her hatchlings out into the forest, the way all mother pythons do. "Grow up big and green as the tree's leaves," she called to her little yellow babies as they scattered among the trees. But Verdi dawdled. He was proudly eyeing his yellow skin. He especially liked the bright, bold stripes that zigzagged down his back. Why the hurry to grow up big and green, he wondered. Maybe some of the older snakes in the jungle could tell him. So Verdi ventured up into the treetops to look for them. Umbles, Aggie, and Ribbon were lazing on some branches nearby. Verdi peered at their big droopy green bodies. "It's not polite to stare," chided Aggie. Umbles burped and grumbled. "Oh, it's taken nearly 4 weeks for that last lizard to digest. I surely do like lizards, but lizards don't like me."
"Why don't lizards like you?" asked Verdi.
"Don't interrupt," Umbles grumbled.
"Dear me," whined Aggie. "If I don't shed soon, this itchy old skin will drive me bananas."
Verdi tapped a tune with his tail while he waited patiently for his turn to speak. "Stop that, Verdi. It makes me nervous," Ribbon complained. "Besides, you'll never grow up to be properly green if you're always interrupting and constantly fidgeting." Verdi could not imagine being in a hurry to be like them, and he really wanted to keep his sporty stripes. Hoping to find snakes that weren't so boring, Verdi slipped away. Dozer was snoozing in a tree not far from all the others. "Hello," said Verdi. "Do you want to climb trees with me?" "I'm tired," Dozer growled. "Go do a few laps around the jungle, won't ya?" Verdi's heart sank. The greens were not only lazy and boring, but they were rude. At the top of a very tall tree, Verdi gripped onto one branch with his tail and gripped onto another with his little snake jaws. "I will never be lazy, boring, or green," he thought. "I will jump and climb, and I'll keep moving so fast that I'll stay yellow and stripy forever." And then Verdi let go. And with a position like that, what do you think will happen if he lets go with his tail? Boop! Off he shot into the sky. From a distance, the old greens watched. "Oh my!" they chorused. Ribbon shook his head. "At this rate, he'll be lucky to make it to his first molt." Aggie nodded. "He's likely to put an eye out on a branch." Umbles moaned. "He might not live long enough to turn green." But one day, Verdi's skin began to peel, and underneath revealed a pale green stripe stretching along his whole body. "Gak!" he gasped. "How can this be? I'm the speediest snake in the jungle, and I'm still turning green." He raced down to the river and grabbed up a mouthful of rough leaves. Verdi flung himself into the water. "If I can't run this green off, I'll scrub it off," he thought. But his frantic splashing caught the eye of a large bottom feeder cruising the murky depths. The old fish thought. Lunch." But before the fish could haul Verdi under the water, the frightened snake bit the fish on the nose. "Apoo!" And with a blast from his rubbery lips, the great fish sneezed and sent Verdi flying off into the air. Slapping on the soggy shore, Verdi skidded safely out of reach. "Phew, that was close," he sputtered. But now, every inch of his body was covered with wet, gloppy mud. It's kind of lumpy, it's kind of brown, but it's better than being green. So Verdi left the mud on. But the soft brown mud dried into a hard gray shell, and soon, when it dried, Verdi could barely move. If he even budged, the stuff cracked off in jagged chunks. And as each piece fell away, Verdi could see that his body underneath was more green than ever.
This is terrible,
cried Verdi. He pictured himself hanging around in droopy loops, itching and complaining and worrying all day like the old greens. He looked up into the sky where the sun blazed a beautiful bright yellow, just the color he used to be. And then he pulled a vine to the top of the tree and launched himself out of the treetop. Verdi startled a flock of colorful birds. He became so dizzy with delight, and he was sure that the bright sun and his lofty speed would turn him golden again. In his joy, Verdi forgot to plan for his fall back down to earth. Whippity-whappity flip-flap wham! Plummeting down through the trees, Verdi bounced off many branches and landed in a crooked sprawl across a log on the forest floor. He couldn't move at all. Help! He creaked. Oh, poor Verdi. As usual, the old greens had been watching Verdi's antics. They moved quietly and quickly to where he lay. "Didn't we say it would come to this?" Umbles said, shaking his head. Aggie sighed.
Well, it's a lucky thing he still has 2 good eyes.
They gently lifted Verdi up to a safer place where they could take care of him while he healed. Neatly splinted onto a branch, Verdi had no choice but to listen to the greens as they gabbed. "Do you remember how I used to streak across the forest floor?" Ribbon asked. "You were as quick as lightning," answered Aggie, "and I climbed great big trees like they were nothing. They grew taller back then, you know." "The things I dared to run down and swallow," Umbles bragged. "Wild boar were no match for me." Verdi was astonished. "You used to run? You used to climb? You used to hunt great giant pigs? What happened?" "Well, Ribbon crashed, just like you," Aggie replied. "And I took a terrible fall and I almost poked my eyes out. And then old Umbles here, he nearly choked to death. So now we all prefer the quiet life. We've had our adventures. A nice warm perch, a little sunshine, and an occasional good meal." The old greens rambled on about their days of glory, and Verdi settled in to listen on his branch. Finally, one afternoon, Umbles said, "Well, it looks like you're ready to go again." And he carefully untied Verdi from the branch. "You're welcome to come with us," said Aggie. Ribbon agreed, and the 3 old greens slipped quietly back into the forest. Verdi was not ready to join them yet. He wasn't sure where he wanted to go, so he just stretched and stayed put until the sun went down. And he listened to the nighttime forest come alive. There's a lot happening in the forest at night. Can you even see Verdi camouflaged so well? Time passed. The sun and the moon took turns in the sky. Verdi marveled as the full moon grew thinner every night, and then he watched patiently as the moon slowly grew round again. He wondered why he had never noticed that before. Verdi became so green that he blended in perfectly with the leaves. He was so still that the other creatures walked right by without even seeing him. One fine morning, as Verdi basked in the sunshine, 2 small yellow snakes approached. They tapped and fidgeted as they stared.
"Get a look at that old green guy," one of them whispered. "Do you think he ever moves?"
The other one snickered.
"I seriously doubt it."
"They're just like I used to be," thought Verdi. "And now I am what I was afraid to be. He looked at his big green body and slowly smiled. How would you two like to come climb trees with me? He asked.
With you? The yellows were astounded.
I'll even show you my fancy figure-8 trick, Verdi replied, although, if he had to admit, he was a little worried about putting his eyes out. And with practice, the 3 snakes performed a perfect triple figure-8. Leaping and looping with his little stripy young friends, Verdi laughed. I may be big and very old and green, but I'm still me. The end. Thank you for watching.